A man believed he was being hunted, not by criminals, not by strangers, but by the law enforcement. For months he documented everything. Unmarked cars outside his home, men watching from across the street. Moments he believed were practice runs for his death. He didn't stay silent, he asked for help. He warned reporters, and when no one listened, he contacted the FBI. Days before he died, he wrote that the plan had changed, that framing him wasn't enough anymore. They're going to kill me and make it look like I did it to myself. Then he left one final warning. If I turn up missing or dead, remember this van. Days later his house was on fire. He was found inside, stabbed, including knife wounds to his back, and then the case was ruled a suicide. But evidence doesn't agree. Then the hacker group Anonymous spoke out publicly against the police station. In the years that followed, the Fresno Police Department would face a series of escalating problems. That's the story of John Lang. John Lang lived in Fresno, California. He was 51 years old when he died. But striking is how little is known about him. He was born in Ohio, but there's no clear record of when he arrived in Fresno or what brought him there. His personal life leaves almost no digital footprint, no family photos, no social media presence that offers context or connection. In an age where most lives are carefully documented online, John Lang appears almost deliberately absent. According to his own statements, he worked at the Payless Brakes and Tires on Blackstone Avenue. What role he had there is unclear, and no co-workers have ever spoken publicly about him. Public records and archived internet listings link his home address and phone numbers to two small businesses, one called Valley Handyman and another called Lang Marine, a name that would later resurface as his YouTube channel. Beyond those fragments, the details of his daily life remain largely unknown. John was once married to a woman named Alma Loosbeck, and together they had one daughter named Emma. Based on John's own online posts, their marriage began deteriorating around 2009. Court records show that Alma filed for divorce in August of 2011, and that the divorce was finalized roughly 3 months later in November. After that point, John appeared to become increasingly isolated. Before his name became associated with accusations, videos and fear, John Lang was, by nearly every measurable standard, a private man, until he began insisting that someone else was watching him. What John Lang is known for is not his personal life but his activism. Several years before his death, John became a vocal police accountability activist within Fresno's Tower District community. He accused the Fresno Police Department of engaging in an unethical and potentially illegal license plate scanning operation in lower-income neighborhoods. According to John, police officers would patrol retail store parking lots, scan license plates, and identify vehicles with violations such as expired registration. After identifying vehicles flagged by the system, officers would pull them over several blocks away from the store, claiming the stops were part of routine patrols. John believed this practice was motivated by profit and unfairly targeted poorer residents of Fresno. It is not entirely clear how John discovered this alleged operation, but court records show that a man named John Paul Lang was cited for operating an unregistered vehicle in September of 2008. After this incident, John began publicly criticizing Fresno law enforcement in the comment sections of articles published by the local newspaper, the Fresno Bee. According to John, this was when his problems truly began. On his now offline website jodymurray.com, John claimed that Fresno law enforcement had illegally and secretly entered his home and copied his hard drives. He believed this was done to plan a false arrest against him, possibly involving fabricated charges related to illegal images. John also said there was a clear pattern. Anyone who had publicly accused or discussed allegations involving then Fresno Police Chief Jerry Dyer eventually found themselves facing legal troubles. A quick search confirms that Jerry Dyer had faced public allegations in the past. In the 1980s, he was accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a minor. No criminal charges were filed because too much time had passed for charges to be legally filed. He also later faced lawsuits from senior officers, accusing him of creating a hostile work environment, which was settled outside of court before reaching trial. John also said that in 2013 he contacted editors at the Fresno Bee and the Sacramento Bee, warning them that a Fresno Bee employee named Jody Murray had been sharing IP log data from commenters with the Fresno County Sheriff's Office. He said that the Fresno Bee's comment system was presented as anonymous, but that commenters could in fact be identified through logged data, which he viewed as privacy breach. Commenters who criticized local government and police were then harassed by law enforcement. He said that after sending the emails, officers from the Fresno Police Department began watching, following, and intimidating him. John documented nearly all of these incidents on his website and on his YouTube channel, Lang Marine, where he regularly uploaded footage from his home security cameras. In March 2015, John filed a formal complaint with the Office of Independent Review. After filing the complaint, the harassment intensified. In April 2015, John uploaded a video showing a dark-colored van parked directly across the street from his home. His van's sliding door opens, and a man can be seen holding what appears to be a thermal camera pointed directly at John's house. A thermal camera detects heat rather than visible light and can be used to observe people or activity in the dark. Around the same period, John pointed to what he described as a clear pattern of escalation. He documented a Ford Crew cab truck that he said belonged to the Fresno County Sheriff's Office, which he recorded repeatedly parked near his home. In one instance, John noted that within minutes of the truck appearing outside, he received a hang-up phone call. According to John, the number was later identified as belonging to an employee of the sheriff's office. In another video posted about a month later, several police vehicles are seen parked along his block while officers stand around casually talking. Although the officers did not directly interact with John, he believed the incident was deliberately designed to intimidate him. Other videos John uploaded show people walking past his house, stopping briefly and then turning around while texting. In one video, John speculated that police officers were regularly feeding his dog as a way to condition it to submit, in case they attempted to enter his home. He also pointed to irregularities in his outdoor surveillance footage. In one video, John documented a 20-minute gap from his front camera. The recording stopped while he was away and resumed just seconds before he pulled into his driveway. John argued the timing ruled out a technical malfunction and instead suggested a deliberate window created to allow someone to enter the house without being recorded. John described an incident on April 11, 2015, in which his neighbors George and Maxine Ramirez invited him into their home. After about an hour and a half, he became uncomfortable and tried to leave. According to John, Maxine blocked his path to the door and told him he could not leave, then called out to George. The video quality is poor, but in the lower right corner it is possible to see John climbing over the fence. John said George rushed to the front gate and deliberately blocked his exit, pretending to unlock the gate while preventing him from leaving the property. Feeling trapped, John climbed over a fence to escape and returned to his own yard, while George followed him closely and both neighbors continued to crowd and pressure him to come back inside. He believed the incident was meant to delay him while others illegally entered his home. Afterward, he discovered that his front door lock, print and 2 computers had been messed with. He identified a Fresno Sheriff's employee using the name Ellie Rodriguez as responsible, whom he said had previously visited his marine repair shop and was part of a broader effort to frame and intimidate him. As time went on, John's fears escalated. On January 14, 2016, John made a deeply concerning post on his Facebook account, stating that if anything happened to him within the next day or two, it would be the result of the Fresno Police Department, his neighbor, and an employee at his workplace Payless Brakes and Tires on Blackstone Avenue. The following day, he posted publicly on the Facebook page of ABC 30 Action News reporter Corin Hockard, writing that corrupt Fresno police were going to try to kill him that weekend, possibly that very night, and that it was no joke. In the final weeks before his death, John's posts became increasingly urgent. On January 15, 2016, he recorded a city garbage truck stopping at his curb late at night. Despite the fact that his trash bins were not out, John believed the stop was intended to create a false record of trash collection, allowing items taken from his home to later be claimed as evidence found in his garbage. Shortly afterward, John wrote he had contacted federal authorities. In one post, he stated, "Thank God, the feds are listening and responding." Around the same time, unrelated cases within Fresno law enforcement added to the atmosphere of fear surrounding police accountability. A Fresno deputy police chief was charged in connection with a conspiracy to distribute drugs. A former officer who had previously lost his badge and firearm went to confront the police chief at his private residence and was later found dead, with authorities ruling the death as self-inflicted gunshot wounds. As the situation escalated, he openly expressed fear for his life and asked for protection. During this time, he contacted the FBI and the Department of Justice to report what he believed was ongoing harassment and threats. John had previously attempted to contact a reporter, and just minutes before neighbors noticed smoke coming from the house, he tried to call his ex-wife. The call was reportedly not answered. John's ex-wife has never publicly commented on the incident. Around the same time, John uploaded one of his final videos. It shows a white van parked near his next-door neighbor's house. This van displays the name Guarantee Carpet Cleaning, along with a phone number. In the video, a man exits the passenger seat of the van, smokes a cigarette, repeatedly looks towards John's home, and then places a flyer into the neighbor's gate. Online investigators noticed that the carpet cleaning company appeared strange. The business had no physical location and a website with very little information. Public records show that the company was registered in California in 2015 under the name of a Clovis resident and was dissolved the following year. He wrote, "If I turn up missing or dead tomorrow, remember this van." On January 20, 2016, at around 3 p.m., neighbors on North Van Ness Avenue saw thick smoke coming from John's home and called 911. When firefighters arrived, heavy iron security gates prevented them from entering the property right away. After forcing their way inside, they found that every entrance to the house had been barricaded from the inside. When the first responders finally entered the burning house, they found John unconscious, bleeding, and lying on the floor toward the back of the residence. He was rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Authorities quickly stated that the fire had been intentionally set. Inside the home, investigators found 2 computer monitors connected to outdoor surveillance cameras. A mattress lay on the floor nearby, suggesting that John had been sleeping in the living room while monitoring activity around his house. Initial media reports treated the case as suspicious. Fresno Bee journalist Rory Appleton reported that homicide detectives were investigating the death. Fresno Police Lieutenant Joe Gomez stated that John had sustained multiple stab wounds to his belly and upper back, and that it was unclear whether he died from the injuries or from the fire itself. 4 days later, the Fresno Bee again reported that John had been stabbed in both the belly and upper back. Nearly 2 months later, those details changed. On March 31, 2016, authorities officially ruled John Lang's death as suicide. According to Fresno County Sheriff spokesperson Tony Body, the medical examiner said John had suffered 3 superficial self-inflicted stab wounds to his chest and no wounds to his back. Officials also stated that John had started the fire himself and that smoke inhalation was the cause of death. When the examiner's report was released, it raised even more questions. A country death investigator, Loretta Andrews, reported that John's clothing had been removed and placed beneath his body inside a body bag. The report noted that there were no tears in the clothing that matched the stab wounds. 2 knives were examined, a Japanese kitchen knife and a serrated bread knife, and based on the wounds, officials concluded that the serrated bread knife was used. Even though it was first said that the injuries were minor, the report explained that 1 stab wound went through the breastbone, passed into the sac around the heart, and pierced the front of the heart itself. Another stab wound cut along the surface of the heart, and a 3rd stab wound went partly into the breastbone. The report also noted black smoke on John's face, hands and feet, as well as inside his mouth, throat and lungs. His left lung had collapsed. Tests showed that there were no drugs or alcohol in his system. His carbon monoxide level was 31%, which led the examiner to conclude that he died from breathing in smoke. The examiner report further stated that John's outer security cameras had been functioning until just before firefighters arrived and that indoor cameras had been recording until the day prior. According to the report, footage showed John sitting in the living room holding a large knife, displaying it to the camera, then taking it into another room. Later, John reportedly approached the camera and shut it off. None of this footage has ever been released to the public. Records also show that multiple officials were present during the autopsy, including 2 Fresno Police Department detectives, 1 Fresno Fire Department fire investigator, and 1 Bureau of Investigations worker from the Fresno Police Department. Fire Department investigation unit documents concluded that there was no way for anyone to enter or exit the home during the fire, and that John was the only person inside with access to the materials used to start it. The investigator stated that it was their opinion that the person responsible for the fire was also the victim. Months later, while John Lang's family was handling his property, at least one document associated with the process described his death as a violent murder. No explanation was ever publicly given for why this language appeared in official paperwork, despite the case having already been ruled as suicide. In addition, a Freedom of Information Act request was later submitted seeking access to the crime scene, investigation documents, and photographs related to John Lang's death. The city of Fresno denied the release of the crime scene photographs, citing the investigatory records release and third-party rights to privacy. While some responsive documents were released with redactions, the photographs themselves were withheld. Records indicate that numerous crime scene photographs exist, but none have ever been made public. Despite these conclusions, many questions remain unanswered. Why were stab wounds to the back initially reported if they did not exist? How could John stab himself through the breastbone with a serrated bread knife without damaging his clothing? Why were multiple law enforcement officials present at the autopsy? And why have the crime scene photographs never been released to the public? As these inconsistencies spread online, a petition calling for a federal investigation gained attention. The hacker group Anonymous also entered the discussion, accusing Fresno law enforcement of systemic corruption, abuse of power, and a lack of accountability. In the years after John Lang's death, Fresno law enforcement would face scandals that were no longer allegations but convictions. In 2017, former Fresno Deputy Police Chief Keith Foster was sentenced in federal court for conspiring to distribute drugs, using his position inside the department to protect traffickers and obstruct investigations. Years later, in 2025, another case came to light. Ray Ariel Medallas, a former Fresno Police Department narcotics detective, was charged by the California Attorney General with stealing more than $60,000 from the department's evidence room and falsifying records to cover it up. Despite multiple high-profile convictions and charges, Fresno police were never placed under federal oversight. No Department of Justice agreement followed. No outside monitor was assigned. The department's former chief, Jerry Dyer, who John Lang directly accused in his writings, later became mayor of Fresno. His time as police chief was marked by ongoing issues, public criticism, and allegations that were never tested in criminal court, but never fully resolved either. John Lang's case was closed as a suicide. The records were sealed, the photographs were withheld, the inconsistencies were left unanswered. But the institution he accused would later show openly and in court that corruption inside Fresno law enforcement was not a paranoid fantasy. It was real, it was documented, and for years it went unchecked. What do you think about this case? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.